But here in the neighborhood that abuts the airbase, that could come too late for people like Win T Q, who has both deformed legs and a growing cancer in her blood. Like her parents and grandparents before her, this neighborhood, this house, are all she has ever known.
I was born here 38 years ago.
Were you born with your legs like that?
She said her legs like this and she falls down many times when she walks. The legs is very weak when she was born.
Why do you think you were born with these problems?
Basically, you can say it's because when I was born, I lived near the airport. The water was always dirty. We didn't have the money to clean it. For all this time, I've only been able to guess it was the water.
Now, Q's 10-year-old daughter Dong is the family's fourth generation to inhabit this simple house, not 1,000 feet down a narrow alley from the polluted old airbase, where so much Agent Orange went into the soil and into the water and stayed. In her belief, is America responsible for this?
The poison's causing this. I think you can say it was because the Americans were here. I think that's possible.
What could America do now?
I can let go of all the bad feelings. I just hope that you help people like me, victims like me. All of the people in Vietnam who are like me live a very hard life. And if you can please try to help reduce the suffering of victims like me.
Between her legs and now cancer in her blood, Q can no longer work at her old job sewing blankets and earning all of $10 a month. There may be little the United States can do to minimize her pain or her daughter's.
I don't know what the future of my daughter is going to be. I don't know how much longer I will be with her. I really regret what my illness will do to my daughter. Thank you for coming to visit me, but after this, if I am gone, then I humbly ask that you will please help my daughter. In truth, I don't know what else to say.
After our interview with Win T Q, we asked her to show us the well at the back of her house, the well that until recently has been her sole source of water. On the way, she stopped in her rudimentary kitchen, and after filling a pot from the plastic jug of clean, safe water she's now been told she should use, she grabbed some greens that she was going to cook for herself and her daughter, and then she showed us out to the well, where she promptly used the well water, which might still be contaminated with dioxin, to wash the greens. Win T Q has never had tests to prove that dioxin is even the cause of her misery, but local officials consider her living proof of their main argument, that the closer you get to the wartime concentrations of Agent Orange, the greater the number of cases just like hers. Although a better word than proof might just be evidence.
I think it's clear that the United States is to blame for leaving that dioxin on the ground there. It's very hard to assess blame for each and every birth defect, say, or incidence of cancer, because even though we know there's an increased incidence of birth defects and cancers, we don't know which ones were caused by DDT, which ones were caused by dioxin that was left from the Agent Orange. And so instead of trying to sort all of that out, we said let's just clean it up and let's have programs that help those who have birth defects, cancers that may be caused by the Agent Orange.
Here's the other side of that coin. We lost the war. We didn't win in Vietnam.
Yeah.
We lost in Vietnam. So why should we clean up a mess when we lost the war?
Well, I think if you go to somebody's territory and you leave behind dioxin, Agent Orange, whatever it is, you have a responsibility to say, let's clean it up. We did that in our own country. Great chemical companies sometimes created things like Love Canal, and then they had to clean it up. We left behind these toxic chemicals in Vietnam, and it is symbolic of an improving relationship that we take joint responsibility for cleaning it up.
We certainly believe that Vietnam needs to get rid of dioxin. And yes, we put that dioxin there, so yes, I think that we want to help them get it out, and we're working on that.
But there is one thing that the U.S. probably will never do, actually take blame for whatever harm its actions might have caused. That's because while the government itself has long been considered immune from being sued for damages during war, it wants to insulate itself from any possible liability in the future. Meantime, there has been a lawsuit by Vietnamese citizens against the chemical companies that made Agent Orange until yesterday, when the Supreme Court handed them a defeat. But the ambassador argues legal liability isn't really the issue here anyway. Is that a part of our reluctance, the possibility of lawsuits based on, let's say, a concession that, the United States, well, yes, this was our fault, so we're going to fix everything?
Well, I wouldn't doubt that that's in the back of the minds of many of the people back in Washington, but what we're trying to do here is get rid of a persistent organic pollutant, and we're trying to help people with disabilities regardless of cause.
So the American contribution might be a small amount, but it's a big step in a new direction because part of Washington's money is for what is specifically called humanitarian help. It circumvents questions about blame because it requires no proof that anyone is or isn't a victim of Agent Orange.
Has he had therapy before, or has he any surgery?
And a piece of it landed here this past November in the form of these American doctors and physical therapists, all part of a new program in this American clinic at a hospital in Da Nang supported by U.S. aid money. The Americans spent a week here visiting the homes of the disabled.
She's making good eye contact.
And training their local counterparts on modern therapy.
But she's not strong enough. She's weak on the left. You, weak on the left.